Hello, everybody, and welcome to the seventh edition or seventh episode of the Knowhow Insights. We're happy to have you on board. And tonight we will have Depping, who is the product manager for harnesses at Knowhow. And he will reveal his knowledge, his expertise about harnesses. Welcome, Luis. How are you?
Hi, Till. Hi, everyone. I guess everyone can see and can hear me. I just heard it's the seventh episode of the Knowhow Insights. I think there will be the first mistake in my presentation. I thought it's number 6. I don't know, Till. Am I right, or are you right?
I think it's a 7, but actually doesn't matter.
All right.
I would like to introduce myself for those who haven't seen any of the other presentations. My name is Till Gottbrat, and I'm something like a flying fossil, having been paragliding since 1986. And I work as a freelancer for Knowhow in marketing, doing also the Knowhow pilots team. And tonight I have the honor to do this presentation together with Luis. A few organizational things. We strongly encourage you to take advantage and ask questions, because Luis really knows what he's talking about. He's a studied textile engineer and has been working hard to create our own range of harnesses. And if you want to ask questions, one thing is essential. You should have a YouTube account, because otherwise you do not have access to the chat. So if you want to ask questions, you have to register at YouTube. We are sorry for that, but we hope you can live with it. Okay, and now I pass the word on to Luis. Please ask questions. We are happy to help as good as we can, even though we're both native German speakers, but we hope you understand what you want to know.
All right. Yeah, thanks, Till. So I will take the chance and introduce myself as well. I work at Knowhow since 2017, and we decided to develop harnesses by ourselves in 2018, actually early 2018. And yeah, as Till said, I studied textile engineering, which is not directly the topic I'm doing here, the textile product development, but it's really close. The place where I'm sitting right now is our harness workshop. I will give you a quick look back there. Yeah, this is the place where our prototypes are sewn in Austria, where we have our sewing machines, workbench, workshop, laser cutting, fabrics, all we need. Yeah, I think I could start straight away with the presentation. So I will give you my screen right now, which you could see now. It's correct, Till?
Yeah, we can see it. Thank you.
Perfect. Yeah, before I want to start to talk about harnesses and R&D harnesses at Knowhow, I would like to give everybody an introduction into the Knowhow R&D team in general. So we are a team, of course. We have a lot of people in the glider department, and not that much people in the harness department. So for the gliders, we have Philip Medicus people. He is the Paragliders designer at Knowhow and also the head of our R&D. Then we have Fabian Gasteiger. Fabi is our main test pilot. Ferdinand Vogel. Ferdi is also test pilot and competition pilot. Of course, I guess you all know Theo de Blick and Nicola Donini. They are also working for us as test pilots and working for the R&D team as well. And then on the right side, this is me. I'm, as I said, the designer of harnesses, and I'm in charge of fabrics and materials as well. And since quite a while, I don't have it in my mind 100%, but I think it's almost 2 years now with Michael. He joined us also as a designer, mainly for harnesses, but also packs and accessories. So he's our versatile designer in the whole team. Yeah.
And Luis, just a question.
Sure.
The test pilots, they also give you feedback on the harnesses, right?
Correct. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, that's correct. So the team is working together as a whole team. So the test pilots are giving us feedback for the harnesses as well. We ask them to fly our harnesses and to test some specific problem or issue we want to have feedback to. But on the other hand, also, for example, Michael is doing work on the paragliding risers and building prototypes for hardware parts, for example. So we're all connected. We're almost everybody is in the house except Theo and Nick, but they visit us regularly, and we can join ourselves together for all the development. All right, that's it for the R&D team. That was the start so far. Today, what I'm going to talk about are the following topics. I would like to give you an idea about what we are doing in the harness development department in Austria, in Terfens. When did we start, etc. What are we doing? The next chapter should be what types of harnesses are there on the market, and from the user's view, so from a customer's point of view. Going on with a little bit of harness technology from from my point of view, from the designer's view. I would like to tell you a little bit about harness certification and topics which are related to that. And in the end, pretty short and quick, because this is so individual. And I think a lot of dealers and teachers, instructors can tell a lot more about harness fitting than I can do. Yeah, this is the overview, the road we're going today. So let's start with R&D harnesses at Knowhow. As I said before, we started to develop harnesses in 2018. Our first harness back then was the Ventus harness. So what are we doing actually in Terfens, and what can we do here? Of course, we create a concept, which is the first step. This is not just a step inside of the R&D team, but with everyone together. So all of the Knowhow stuff comes together, and we think about what kind of harness do we need next, and should we develop first. Then once the concept is actually there, is concluded somehow, we can start working on the 3D design. This is what Michael and I are doing. From the 3D design, we can create our 2D patterns. Those we can cut on our laser cutter back there and start to sew the first prototype. This is a lot of how to say, iterations, labs going on in this 3D design prototype sewing. We do a lot of labs inside there, and when the prototype has quite some progress, I would say, we can start to integrate the color design. Our color designer is not in Terfens, but he's also in Austria, and we are very close in contact with each other, and yeah, integrating a color design on the black harness, which is usually black or white in some cases in the beginning. Of course, we test the harnesses here in Austria ourselves, or also by the Paraglider test pilots. And we do protector development in-house as well. This is super useful because the protector is such a big point on one harness that it's almost necessary to be able to do protector development in-house if you want to do harness development in general. What we cannot do in Austria, here in not in Austria, but in our headquarters in Terfens, is the G-force testing. Therefore, we visit the Flugschule Hochries. They are pretty close. They are in the border between Bavaria and Austria. I will talk about the G-force testing later as well. And structural load tests, we can't do them in-house. We use the test offices of DHV or Paratest for that. The picture I placed around, I guess you already watched them. Up here, you can see our workshop again. We built this workshop actually 1 year and 2 months ago because we moved inside our headquarters. So we are very happy that we have more space now and can use this big workshop. The next picture is in the G-force trainer in Hochries. We tested the X-Alps harness there. Yeah, I will come back to
Just
this
a question, Luis. You will talk about the G-force trainer later and explain exactly how it works.
If I will explain exactly how it works?
Yeah.
I can do it, yeah, sure. I can do it now or later.
Yeah, whatever you want.
I guess it makes it, please remind me later again, because it makes sense to explain it when in the topic of certification tests. All right?
Okay.
Perfect. Yeah, down here you can see Nicola Donini, who visited us for development or harness fitting. These are pictures of test flights with our team, and what I didn't list, but we also do and we also did, is CFD simulations of harnesses, either of digital ones or of real ones, to optimize the aerodynamics of a certain harness. And yeah, a picture of Michael on the sewing machine for all the prototype sewing work. All right, we can head on to the next topic: types of harnesses from a customer's point of view. So I'm struggling a little bit with a small window, but it's fine. So I tried to put together all types of harnesses there are on the market, and sorted them in seat harnesses in gray or black on the left side, and pod harnesses on the right side. So in general, there are 4 main classes, I would say, of seat harnesses. Of course, we have also aqua harnesses and speed flying or speed riding harnesses on the market, but I don't want to go into that too much. So I'm focusing on those 4. And I want to explain what are they for, what are they made for, and what not, which is also an important point. Let's start with the beginner all-around harness. A typical all-round harness is something like a Ventus, I would say. The Ventus has a foam protection, has a T-lock system. It's just a durable and reliable harness for the everyday use. And those all-around harnesses are made for schooling or flying around in the home spot, or for casual pilots who don't fly that often, but they would like to have a good combination of safety, durability, and comfort, ease of use. There are plenty of all-round harnesses on the market. I didn't start to list them all, so yeah, because if you start, then you never end. And I want to admit that for the questions later. So I don't know all the harnesses on the market. So please don't ask me how do you like, or how do you feel, or what do you think about this and that harness. Yeah, this is the disadvantage of being a designer. You work a lot, you fly not so much anymore. All right, this was class 1, all-round harnesses.
Hold on, Luis. There is a question,
Sure.
which is actually in German, so I have to translate directly. It's from Boaz Rosen. He says he's using the Ventus and he's very happy with the quality. However, he says that the packing volume is slightly big. Would it be possible to change the protector and to alternatively build in an airbag protector?
So technical or theoretical, of course, yes, it's possible somehow, but specifically on the Ventus harness, I would say no, it's not possible, because the big problem from changing from foam to air is that you most of the time run out of height. So for example, the foam protector has 25 centimeters height. Then you need to design an air protector which passes the certification with 25 centimeters. And this is most of the time the bottleneck. So some manufacturers can do that, or they can solve it. Like for example, on the GTO Light, I think Woody Valley made it. On the GTO Light 2, you can choose between air and foam, and they somehow made to solve this problem, to use the same height for foam and air. But I would say in the Ventus, it would be a lot of work, and in the end, maybe not the best results to put the airbag inside the Ventus harness. But yeah, it's interesting that that we have this question, because we will see on the next upcoming classes of harnesses, reversible seatboard harnesses and lightweight harnesses. There are plenty of harnesses with similar or the same comfort like the Ventus, ease of use, which are really, really good, well-developed harnesses, and they have a smaller packing volume. So I would actually say maybe switch to another type of harness or another class of harness, instead of modifying all-around harness with an airbag system. But that's a general question, because there are customers, they really really want to have the foam protection, because they don't want to inflate an air protector before takeoff. Also instructors, for example, want the harnesses just to be ready to fly.
I think may I add one thing? I know from schools that an inflatable protector, which goes from one student to the next one, is you don't want to blow up the inflatable protector that has somebody else used before.
Yeah.
So this kind of protector just doesn't fit with the harness, which is made for paragliding instruction.
For schooling, yeah. That's why I noted it down here. Those harnesses are designed for schooling, and for example, for schooling, it's I think nice to have a foam protector, which is not necessary to inflate before using the harness. But let's head on with the reversible harnesses, and especially the reversible seatboard harnesses. Again, our model, the ITUS harness, is just an example for plenty of harnesses on the market out there. The idea of this class was born quite some years ago, to have a seatboard harness, to have all the advantages, comfort and feedback of the paraglider with the seatboard, but to pack it quite okay, quite small in an integrated backpack. So those harnesses most of the time are also made for schooling as well as flying around in the home spot. And of course, casual pilots again are customers who buy this class. And this class now is possible to use for hike and fly. It's still used for hike and fly, I would say, but we can see a trend on the market that this class starts to get used less for hike and fly, and the lightweight harnesses getting more and more popular for hike and fly. So we could switch over to the lightweight harnesses straight away. I put the Montes Plus, or the Montes including the Inverto, as a picture here, but to be honest, it's not completely correct. Why? Because the whole setup, harness including protector, is around 1.4 kilogram, which is pretty light in this class, but actually the harness itself is not a lightweight harness anymore. I would say the harness itself is a ultralight harness. So that's why I put some other harnesses as notes next by, which are actually representing this class a lot more than the Nova Montes Plus does. The Woody Valley Crest is quite new, is a really, I think, well-known harness of this class. The Easiness, of course, from Advance, and the Radical in its latest generation. Yeah, and these harnesses now, I would say, are nowadays the focused harness, or the popular harnesses for hike and fly. And a lot of pilots are also using them for home spot flying, which is absolutely fine in this class. But to be honest, as I said, the Montes harness is on the edge. I would rather declare it to the ultralight harness class. So let's step over to the ultralight, and the ultralight harnesses are actually not anymore made for home spot flying or everyday use, however you call it. They are really made for hike and fly, climb and fly, and expedition, of course. Yeah, and I guess everybody knows what kind of harnesses are meant, or are described by this class. Till, do we have some questions so far for the seat harnesses?
Bots Rosen, he asked again concerning the Ventus, whether it would be possible to change the protector to a softer foam to make the packing volume. And then there's the question, you now basically explained about the weight, but what are the sacrifices that you have with lower weight on durability and on safety?
Yeah.
That's two questions.
Yeah, let me start with safety and durability first, I would say. I think, to be honest, in this class, in the lightweight harness class, talking about those harnesses and less the Montes, those harnesses are nowadays quite durable, I would say, for long-term use. So, for example, in easiness, it's made out of webbing, not of braided line. Those harnesses you can use quite a while, and they will stay in good shape. Sorry for this. I guess you can see it. Yeah. And so I would define the border of durability down here between lightweight and ultralight. I would say for seat harnesses, ultralight harnesses, they have shorter lifetimes, obviously, but up to lightweight harnesses, I would say they're nowadays pretty good and pretty durable. That was lifetime. Regarding safety, it's not that easy. I mean, of course, you can say there's a general trend from up here to down there. Safety is getting less somehow, but not proportionally, I would say. It's a matter. It's so specific, I would say. There are lightweight harnesses with good safety, good protection, and there are reversible seatboard harnesses with maybe good protection, but they could be better. I don't know if I should specify that more, Till. What do you mean? What do you think about the safety question?
Yeah, I would like to know more a little bit. I mean, in what respect do I sacrifice safety if I have a lightweight or ultralight harness? I mean, obviously, when there's no protector, then there's no protector.
Yeah.
But those models with ultralight protectors, what can happen in the worst case?
Yeah. We can go into that. We take light or ultralight protector, the inverter. The inverter is only filled by ram air, so it fills itself during flight, and there's absolutely no reinforcement in any part down there. So if you have force from the side or a side crash impact, this protector can easily swipe away to the side, in contrast to the ITUS protector, which is reinforced with a big polycarbonate plate in the front, which is going straight until the edge of the seatboard, and they kind of connect with each other. So the ITUS protector is a lot more durable for side impact, I would say. But this is just
filled. It's also filled before you take off, right?
It's pre-filled. It's filled. It's filled on as soon as you unpack it from your backpack, because it fills itself. Yeah, and this is what I meant with it's individual. It really depends on how the protector is designed. So yeah, and there might be a protector in this class which is reinforced somehow, which is attached in more points in the to the harness, which results in more stability of the protector. Yeah. Is that all right so far?
Yep.
All right. So I would go on with pod harnesses, and there are mainly 3 classes of pod harnesses. I just called them all-round pod harnesses or cross-country harnesses, lightweight and competition. In the all-round cross-country or pod harnesses, we as Knowhow, we don't have a product so far, but therefore I put 3 of the most popular or the well-known pod harnesses. The lightness, of course, from Advance is very well known. Woody Valley has the GTO Light, now also in generation 2 with the air protection, as we talked before. And for example, the Genie Light 3 in its latest generation, those harnesses represent this class. And those harnesses are made for cross-country flying, of course, but also for cross-country beginners. So everyone who wants to step into that type of paragliding. A lot of people use it also for home spot flying because they got used to flying pod harnesses, and they really like to fly pod instead of seat harnesses, as well as casual pilots also use and buy this class. Jumping straight to the lightweight harness class, where we will launch a product more or less soon. It will take some more while until we can launch the Arctos harness. But this is a class of pod harness which established itself some years ago. I don't know it by heart, but maybe 5-6 years ago or even more. You can also call it the 2 kilogram pod harness class, which are used for hike and cross country. So hike and fly. Also hike and fly competitions, of course, which got more and more popular in the last years. Some, I would say most of the harnesses you can use for Volbiv pretty good, pretty well. And they are also used for expedition, of course. All right, last but not least, competition pod harnesses. We also don't, we don't have a product in this category so far. Let's see if we will have one day. There are I would say, the 3 competition harnesses on the market from Woody Valley, X-Rated 7, Genie Race 4, Cortel Cannibal Race 2. And they are, I would say, more or less only used for competition flying or for advanced XC pilots.
And they all have 2 reserve compartments, right?
Correct. Yeah. That's true. I would say let's jump to the next.
Hold on. And there's more questions. One question was from Affenrotze. Will the Arctos have a seatboard? And what are the advantages of flying with or without the seatboard? Or like in general? And another question is that I would like to ask you, what are the advantages of flying with a pod harness? I mean, who should fly a pod harness and who should not? In general. So it's 2 things: seatboard and then pod harness or standard harness.
Yeah. So the Arctos will not have a seatboard, but will behave or feel like a harness having a seatboard. So I think you can read a lot from this. It will feel as it would have a seatboard, but it doesn't have one.
But what do you mean by it feels like having a seatboard? What is the typical feeling of seatboard and no seatboard?
The typical feeling of a seatboard harness is the direct feedback from your glider to your hips, actually. So the glider gets lifted right. You directly feel you get lifted right, and on the other hand, you can also pretty direct weight shift and weight steer to the right side and use your body weight to make an impact, steering your glider by weight shifting. If you don't have a seat board, of course this also happens, but less direct, I would say. So more damped in general. Yeah, in both ways. Feedback from the glider to your harness, as well as steering the glider with your harness by weight shifting. That was the first question, seat board. And the second question was pod harnesses, why and for who? Good question, actually. I would answer this question like the following. If you as a pilot, or if a pilot would like to stay in the air for, I don't know, more than 1 hour, more than 2 hours, 3 hours, this is a personal thing, absolutely. From some time on, the pod harnesses just are more comfortable than seat harnesses. If you fly around with a seat harness for 4 or 5 or 6 hours, I think it will not be that comfortable. So for me personally, it's a question of comfort. And once you started flying pod harnesses and you get used how a pod harness feels and how it flies and how you maneuver the wing with your harness, then it can happen you like the feeling of flying a pod harness more, and also use a pod harness for short flights, because you're used to this different body position.
And Norbert Dahlhaus is asking what the difference in the glide ratio is from a conventional harness to a pod harness.
There is quite some big difference due to the reduced protected surface which you have with a pod harness. It always depends, of course, on the harness itself, but it's in the scale of 0.5 to 1 glide ratio, I would say. But it's closer to 1. Also, there's one. You can easily find a configuration of comparing a seat board or a seat harness with a pod harness, which have a difference of glide ratio is around about 1. Okay. So yeah, glide ratio 8.5 to 9.5 by changing the harness.
And there's one question from Rama. It's actually 2 questions, but I ask one first and then the next one. How far do you develop harnesses for specific wings?
Interesting. So far, to be honest, we don't. Not for specific wings, but for classes of wings, of course. So yeah, our pod harness is tested and developed with those gliders which are flown with the pod harness later, and the seat harness are developed and tested with the wings they are used later during schooling or on the market. So yeah, we don't have a special 1-by-1 I would say equipment match or equipment development, harness and wing, but it's classes. They should match together, and that happens during testing.
And the second question from Rama, was, do you recognize significant changes in the wing's behavior depending on the harness? I suppose he's talking about any kind of incidents and what happens in turbulences.
In general, I would say yes, of course. So flying the same wing with different harnesses can feel completely different. Most of the time it does. Even from seat harness to seat harness, you go from Seatboard harness to split leg loops harness, and the wing feels pretty different. Yeah, so I think I would like to go on with the next topic. Do we have some more questions, or is it okay?
No, go on.
All right. So let's jump into harness technology from a designer's point of view. As a designer, you actually don't think in these classes, which we were talking about so far, which are kind of predefined by certain combinations of elements of the harness. From a designer's point of view, you more or less think from bottom to top. So what do I have? What can I combine with each other? And what product can result from this? So we have different elements when we put together a harness. We have the seat. No matter if it's a seat harness or a pod harness, we always call it the seat. Then we have the harness structure, which is actually the load taking part. So the harness structure is the element which is carrying the pilot in the end or in the air. There is always or most of the time a rescue system inside or the harness or with the harness, however, if it's integrated or not. And again, similar to the rescue system, there is most of the time a protector integrated or not integrated with the harness. Then usually you have some kind of storage compartment or maybe backpack with the harness. And there are further components like buckles or anything you add to the harness. So when I start to develop a harness, what kind of seat can I choose? There is, to be honest, not that much. I can choose between Seatboard, as we talked about, and split leg loops. Split leg loops, I hope everybody knows what is meant. If not, I just jump right into that. These are split leg loops. So every leg has a single suspension, left and right, and they're separate from each other, but connected in the middle somehow. So I can choose from Seatboard or split leg loops, and to be accurate, if you start to design a pod harness, there is actually one more category which we call hammock. The hammock is actually built like a seatboard but without a seatboard, but you have one single fabric below your both legs, and so that's why I didn't list it separately, because it's the single fabric design below the legs. So we have two options to make a seat. Then when we go into the structure, there are plenty of options. If you design to if you decide to design a harness with Seatboard or hammock for pod harnesses, then you can choose between Getter system or T-lock system. These are the two main systems how to close a harness. If you decide to design a harness with split leg loops, you can actually only choose from if you design them closed or openable. This is the type of structure. So how will it look like? And then you can combine different types with different materials, of course. And I think the most obvious difference in material is the difference between webbing and braided line. Most of the harnesses are using webbing, except the lightweight and ultralight harnesses, which are using braided line to save weight. And chemically, you can use Dyneema, nylon, and polyester, both in webbing and braided line types. All right, so we thought about the seat, we thought about the structure. Now we need to add a rescue system to the harness.
Just hold on to the one question, which is a little bit related to the point of the structure. Alok Mihani from India is asking whether there's different, what the difference in the hang point height, how this affects the flying feeling of the harness. I mean, the difference from the level of the seatboard to the hang point from the carabiners.
Carabiner, yeah. Actually, you can say the shorter this length is, the more agile the harness will be. But I would also admit you won't feel small differences. So if you fly a harness which is modified by 2 or 3 centimeters, you won't feel it, I think, as a normal pilot. So if there are these numbers, for example, published by a manufacturer, you can have a look at them, but don't measure them centimeter by centimeter. So there is a correlation to the handling of the harness, but I would say it's not as clear or not as direct in the dimensions as, for example, the chest width is. Do we have one more question, Till? Or
yeah, but it's related to your next point, so
okay.
I don't ask it yet.
All right, so let's jump into the rescue systems. In general, when you start to design a harness, you can decide if you integrate the rescue in a bottom container or in a front container. If you decide to build a bottom container, then you still need to design the position and the opening mode. There are to be named tube container, and I just called it flapping container. What I want to describe with this are rescue containers which open in more than one direction. For example, acro harnesses also open the rescue containers downwards, so the rescue can fall down by itself. With on the ITOS harness, we tried to realize this flapping container. I just jump over by this point. The zipper of the rescue container continues until the middle of the seatboard. So if you open the rescue compartment, you can flap or bend this corner downwards. So the container compartment opens more than a usual tube container. Like, for example, we have it on the Ventus, which is just opening on the side. This is the reason why we open the ITOS compartment also on the front. Let's jump back to the rescue systems. So what needs to be admitted for bottom containers is, if you decide to build a bottom container, you always need to think about the protector, because those most of the time are more or less in the same place. With everything is it's doable, it's no problem, but you need to think about how to place those two elements on the harness. If you decide to build a front container, you can still choose if it's an integrated front container or a separate container which is clipped into the carabiners. And the one also important point which differs the rescue systems on harnesses is the attachment points. There are attachment points on the carabiners. Several harnesses use that. You just clip the front container into your carabiners, or you have a wee bridle guiding to the back of you, and the rescue is shoulder attached. I think on the market there's a big consensus that shoulder attached rescues are safer. Yeah, I would agree to that. I think you can say that, but this, I think, is so specific. If a crash happens, how it happens, and what else happens, that still the shoulder attachments, they have them their own advantages, but it does not mean that a carabiner attached rescue is not safe or not as safe. All right.
Hold on, there is a related question from Affenrotze. He wants to know whether the rescue in a front container, like at the Arctos, for example, is more dangerous than having it under the seat, or are there more advantages when having it up in front?
I think it depends. For the Arctos harness specific, to talk about this, I would say we decided to put the rescue in the front because it makes the whole harness more safe. Because if we have the rescue in the front, we can design a bigger and then safer protector below the seat. If we put the rescue below the seat, we need to make space for the rescue system and scale down the protector, or bring those two elements somehow in order. And another big advantage of having a front container is you can reach it with both hands. So we also test that if the even if the wee bridle is guided to your right, we also test to deploy the rescue with your left hand, throwing it to the correct side, of course. But if you have a bottom container, you will never deploy your rescue, which is placed on the right harness side, with your left hand. So I would say a front container rescue system is safe. You can say, if you want, you can say it's more safe because of the fact that you can design a bigger protector. But on the other hand, I would not say harnesses with bottom container are not safe. So it needs to be justified individual. But I was now just talking about the Arctos harness when where these effects take advantage in the harness. Can we go on, Till, or do we have some more questions?
I would like to add one thing from my knowledge as the PR person, which is like if you have the rescue under your seat and have a decently big enough protector, you you will increase the front face of the entire harness. And as the artist was designed for the X-Alps, one of the major targets I remember was to make it aerodynamically as good as possible. So it's very obvious that you will put the reserve in front because it would not increase the front face.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, I didn't mention that now because we were talking about safety, but that's absolutely correct. Actually, yeah, the front container, if it lifts up from the pot, it improves the aerodynamic a little bit. Not as much as a windshield does, but it goes in the right direction.
And then there's another question from Phil Nebler. At which experience level would you recommend switching to a pod harness?
Good question. To be honest, I would say a lot of instructors could answer that question better than I can do. I would call it a certain skill level. A pod harness is not that easy to use in terms of handling at takeoff. I would say you need to close all your you need to close the pods, the leg belts, of course, you need to close. And if you walk around at takeoff, you have somehow more gear with you. The pod is also following your legs, and preparing a takeoff, I think is often a thing which is underestimated. If you just if everything is clear and you can really focus on the job of flying, it's a big advantage, I would say. Yeah, I would pass this question to a lot of instructors, which can really, yeah, give reliable data, kind of, to say, yeah, when you do a certain number of flights a year and when you have these and that skills, you're ready for a pod harness. I don't know.
I think it's also a matter of what people like. I have a couple of friends who have been flying for many years, and they fly an open harness and they're absolutely happy with it. I mean, I think it's not the case that you can show I'm an experienced pilot just by flying a pod harness. That's not necessarily the same. I mean, if you're not into cross country flying and need the ultimate performance and feel comfortable with an open harness, then why not keep on flying it?
Sure.
If you're happy, then you're happy. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, definitely. And the point we mentioned before, the glide ratio difference of seat harnesses and pod harnesses, of course it's there, but it's way more important how the pilot flies and how skilled the pilot is in thermal flying or in cross-country flying than the difference of a glide ratio of 1. Yeah.
Another question from Hamed Tutunji, which is related to the rescue system. Do you simulate rescue deployments, and how quickly they're open and what faults there might be?
Yeah. Can we put that question back? I will go into that in this chapter.
Perfect.
Certification. Yeah. Yeah. So let's head on with the protector. Today, I would say there are actually 3 main technologies on the market, which are used as protector. There are air protectors. They split up in ram air protectors, as I talked about them before. Ram air describes the air which is floating inside the protector during flight. So those protectors fill after takeoff. Then you have self-inflating protectors. Those protectors can be inflated by themselves by some reinforcements or inside equipment, and they are ready for impact also before takeoff. And then of course you have inflatable protectors, which are well known for lightweight products. Foam protectors differ or also split up in different types of foam. There are compressible foam protectors, and yeah, there are non-compressible foam protectors. I think maybe some people know it from the GTO Light from Woody Valley. For example, this is a non-compressible foam protector, which is used as a protector, but also as kind of a seatboard. And there are foam air hybrid constructions. And then we have this class, I just called it others so far. What I mean are non-compressible materials. Everybody knows the Koroyd technology, and yeah, there might come up some more technologies like this in the future. So I just jump onto now because yeah, we have 2 more chapters. Sorry. Harness technology, storage compartment or backpack. I think I mentioned it before. If you design a harness, you can think about adding an integrated storage compartment to the harness, which most of the harnesses have on the market, I would say. But it also gets popular to have detachable storage. For example, the Skywalk Core harness, I guess you can detach the whole system, including storage compartment and protector. Talking about the backpack, you can choose if you add an integrated backpack, then you end up having a reversible harness, or which also starts to get popular, you can choose to provide a separate backpack, which is custom made for this specific harness. Especially pod harnesses, manufacturers really focus on that in the last years to provide a suitable backpack for this specific harness. Last but not least, we have some more components. For example, buckles. This is a big topic, I would say. If you start to design a harness, there are click buckles as we use them on the Ventus and the Itus harness, and there are frame buckles which need to be pulled through each other. Those have different advantages and disadvantages. Click buckles are easy to use, are super comfortable, and have the advantage of frame buckles is they never can open, which is an advantage most of the time. Once they're closed, they're closed forever. And on the other hand, if you have an SRV training or you somehow land in water, you can't open them that easily. You can open click buckles a lot easier. And they also, of course, influence the weight of the harness. Click buckles are usually a lot heavier. And yeah, then there are accessories added to the harness, for example, like a cockpit pocket, which is separately, or a radio pocket for the harness.
May I add one little thing concerning the frame buckles, which is they never ice. I've had it some time ago that my steel click buckles were so iced that it wouldn't close before takeoff. and I couldn't fly. And I actually tried to warm it up with my hands, but there was humidity in it, and it was very cold, and it was completely frozen, and then so I couldn't fly.
Yeah, that's the disadvantage of click buckles, especially in winter with ice and snow. You really need to take care that they are closed. And yeah, we recommend always to do click and then pull immediately after you click them to check if they of both sides are locked into, to prevent exactly that. All right. I would jump on to the next chapter. I would like to talk a little bit about harness certifications and in relation to manufacturers' responsibility in relation to that topic and market trends. So there are actually three main certification tests which need to be passed with a harness which you want to certify. There's load tests. There are several load tests necessary to pass the whole load test. And there's the protector test, which is so far just one testing, one test procedure. And there are rescue deployment tests necessary to get a certification. Let's jump into the load tests. They are explained quite quickly. There are different norms, the EN and the LTF norm. And for example, in the EN norm, you have loads up to 15 G. So usually if you certify a harness, for example, with 100 kilogram, the harness is tested up to 1,500 decanewton. There are also asymmetric loads tested. And as I said, it's plenty of tests which need to be passed. The load tests in my eyes work quite well. They really test the harness to its strength in a lot of different variations. And of course, somehow the force needs to be applied to the harness. This is why the test dummy is made out of steel or made out of wood, which is of course not realistic, but somehow you need to add the force. So this is why the dummy is from a solid material. Then we can head on to the protector tests. There we have some discussion. There are the existing certification tests, or the existing certification test is defined by a fall of 165 centimeters of the harness. The dummy which is falling down is weighing 50 kilogram, and there is an official G-force limit which is 50 G. And the way the dummy is falling down on the ground is defined also in the angle. And what you end up with this setup, you have a good comparability between those harnesses which you test. But now comes the discussion. You can ask the question, how relevant or how realistic are those specific numbers? And if you look at the reality and crashes which happen in reality, you have a wide variation of impact speeds from slow to super fast. You have, of course, different pilot weights up to, I don't know, 100 kilo. And also the impact angle differs a lot in in reality. So over here you have a lot of non really good specified numbers and terms. So the problem is, in reality, there's happening a lot of different stuff, but how you want to standardize those difficult conditions or effects to make a norm or a comparability between products. So there's this the difference between reality and the certification test, but on the other hand, there's no really easy way to improve the certification by now or by heart. And in addition to that, there are trends on the market which are going into the direction that packing volume is playing a bigger and bigger role of the equipment, which means the protector, if the smaller it is, the more popular it gets, because packing volume is good. Weight is another aspect which is trending up. So the trends which are going on the market, what kind of products are popular, actually kind of work in the opposite direction of having a safe protector. So there's quite some influences in this topic, and in the end, it's actually always the manufacturer who needs to decide what to build and what not. So there are protector technologies or protector designs possible, which you can certify, but they don't really protect the pilot. And on the other hand, there are also concepts and protector designs possible which do not pass the certification test, but would provide quite some good protection in reality. So as I said, in the end, it's the manufacturer's job to put all this into one. And so far on the market, it is necessary to fulfill the certification. So you always need to follow these rules and try to fit the other topics as good as possible into that.
May I add something from my side?
Sure.
Particularly what you have been mentioning right now is the case with the Artus, because the competition version that was made for Nick Donini and Ken Oruma and Theo de Blick for the last X Alps, was the protector was just big enough to fulfill the certification tests, while what you decided, or the team decided now, for the serial version of the Artus, which that will come with a slightly larger protector, just larger, to offer more safety.
Yeah.
So that's what you mean talking about the responsibility of the manufacturer.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what we did with the Artus harness for X Alps. We asked our athletes how much protection do they need, or how much weight they want to save, and we managed to certify a protector which was 99 grams, which is pretty light, but to be honest, gives no protection. And of course, this is not an option for a serial harness selling on the market. So on the market, we decided to enlarge the protector quite some bit. So yeah, it will have seat and back protection. That's what we can say today. Let's head on to the last point of harness certification, which is the rescue deployment. So there were some questions before. How is it tested? How do we test it? I added this small short video clip down here, which where you can see a rescue deployment with 4G of load on the pilot in the G-force trainer in Hochries. And we test different scenarios. When we go there, we test small and big rescues in the same compartment to see if there's a difference from small light rescues to big heavy big packing older rescues.
Hold on. Sorry for interrupting. Please explain how a G-force trainer actually works for those who have never seen it.
Right, yeah. So down here, you can see the harness, which is hanging on a steel arm. The steel arm is extending until the center point. So actually, you can imagine it like a helicopter's rotor. You have a center point, and then you take a rotor blade, and the rotor blade starts to rotate. And on the one side, you hang a harness and a pilot, and on the other side, you just hang a counterweight. And then you start spinning that faster and faster. And yeah, it's actually doing the same thing like flying a spiral does. The G-force increases, and the G-force trainer accelerates until you reach the G-force you want to simulate or you want to train. Yeah, this is the function principle of a G-force trainer. And yeah, we always use a G-force trainer when we develop a new rescue compartment. So we did it on the Artos. In this video, you can see a prototype, and we also test them up to 6G, but usually we test all the procedures or the deployments with 4G load. This is the G-force trainer, and then to pass the certification, you need to fulfill another aspect, which is the deployment force, and the rescue handle needs to deploy from the rescue compartment between 2 and 7 decanewton. This is another criteria. All right, this was the topic of harness certification. And last but not least, I have harness fitting. Do we have some questions so far?
Yep, there's 2 more questions. One is from Rama. For the inflatable protectors, do you see a risk that the protection bursts at the first impact and that there's no protection anymore afterwards during a crash?
I would say yes, of course, this is possible, depending on the ground you impact, especially rocky terrain. I never heard of a story of a bursting inflatable protector, but I think, of course, it could be possible. Yeah.
And then there is a question from Ralf Stahl. How many prototypes do you roughly produce until you have the serial version settled?
This really depends. It depends on the product. It depends on the development time, which is available. For the Artus X Alps version, I would say we had something like 1, 2, 3. I would say 4 prototype versions until the race version. Yeah, but it really depends. For the Itus harness, which was developed in 2019, beginning, we had more steps of prototypes. Yeah, but that's a number. I don't know, around 5.
And there's one more question from Phil Nebler. Is there a system, or is it imaginable to have a system of glider and harness where the harness also generates lift, like the wing shape of the shape of a wing, like the canopy itself?
Yeah. Of course, this is possible. The question is if you want to have this, because the system of harness and paraglider is working quite well, because the harness is giving weight to the glider, and the glider needs weight to fly. And of course, I mean, to talk in the easy way, you could just add wings to a harness, and then the harness creates lift by itself and takes lift from the wing. And the question is if you want to take lift from your wing. I think the answer is no. You want to fly the paraglider with the load it's designed to fly. I think the question is pointing into the direction of gliding performance, and of course there are things possible, how to say, modifications on a harness which improve the overall glide ratio, glide performance.
Another question from Hamid Totunchi is, there's a new system for deployment of rescue systems by remote in the instructor's hand. What do you think about this?
Yeah, I think in general it's good to develop technologies, and it's good to have this technology. My personal opinion is I think this could be really useful in SIV trainings, to have the mechanism in the harness to deploy the rescue automatically, and then the SIV trainer has the transmitting tool or the remote control. I think it's good. I think it's more complicated to implement this whole stuff than you think on the first hand, but I think it could be a step forward. And if some SIV trainers are open to this and try it the first times, I think it's pushing technology in harnesses. Do we have some more questions still?
No, not at the moment. And
okay.
It's also almost 9 o'clock, so should come to an end soon.
Let's come to the last topic, harness fitting. For harness fitting, I really want to make it short. I think a lot of instructors, dealers, people who fit harnesses to a lot of people every day or a lot of times, they really have experience in fitting harnesses to a pilot. From my point of view, I would give 3 general advices. If you buy a harness, take your time, take a harness suspension, take a harness stand, and try everything. Try everything to adjust on this harness which is possible, and all combinations, and then you will see what's comfortable most. So this is actually an approach which should work for most of the harnesses. The only thing you need to do is you need to have the harness already, so it's not possible to fit or to check the fitting before you buy it or before you can test it. And you need the possibility of hanging the harness somewhere, which should be possible in most of the flying schools. And you just need to take your time. That's in general. And then if we go into the adjustments of a harness, we usually go in one certain order. As a first step, I usually open all of the adjustments to their maximum. So shoulder straps, back suspension, and seat suspension, I open them all the way. And actually, I personally like to skip point 1. I leave the shoulders straps open like they are, and I start with the back suspension and decide how much upright or how much leaned back I want to fly the harness. And once I found a back angle which I like, then I adjust the seat suspension in order to fit to the back suspension. So leaving number 2 on your preferred angle and playing around with number 3 until you think feels nice, that's it. And for myself, after that, then I pull down the shoulder straps as much as I like it. On pot harnesses, of course, not too much. You don't want to have too much force. And in the end, you can adjust the chest belt width, but you can also change this in the air with the most harnesses to influence your handling during flight. All right, so from my side, Till, this were all the topics so far.
Wonderful. Thanks a lot, Luis. I think it was quite interesting. I also learned some things, and I hope that you spectators also learned a bit. If you liked it, please feel free to share the link to this YouTube video, because it will be stored and you can watch it again and share it with your friends if you like it. There's also, we will add a timeline so you can find at what point we were talking about which topic. That's going to be done tomorrow or the day after. And you can also find a list to all the Knowhow insights. And in 2 weeks' time, we will have the last issue for this, well, season, Knowhow Insights number 8. And it's going to be Philip Pippo Medicus. He will talk about 2.5 liners, which means basically about the new Mentor 7 or Mentor 7 Lite, and talk about new ways in wing development. So that's going to be exactly in 2 weeks. Again, Monday evening, 7:30 p.m. Luis, thank you very much again, and thanks to all the spectators for watching the Knowhow Insights. We hope you learned something. We hope it was entertaining, and if you enjoyed it, please give us a thumbs up. Thanks and goodbye. Cheers.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.